Hi everyone! I thought I'd do a quick tutorial for you today on how to make a sentiment label for a greeting card using a set of layered templates, some stamps, digital stamps that are a companion product to the labels, and then also digital cutting files that will allow you to cut the labels out. And we're going to recreate this label that's on this little pig card. So in order to do this, the first thing we need to do is get out the template, and this is from the labels 4, the set of labels. This is label number 4, and I've pulled it out and I've also renamed it so that I don't overwrite my original file that is in the set. The next thing I need to do is load up the brushes that go with this companion label. And the way to do that is you click on the brush icon here in Photoshop and expand this, and there's a little gear, or you might be a double arrow in yours depending on what version you have. If you click that, you can go down here to load brushes. So when you open that, you'll need to navigate to where your brushes are stored, where you downloaded them. We needed label 4, that was label 3. So it will have the brush icon, and this is Vintage Labels 4. You just click on that and click load. And you can see that in your brushes palette, it has downloaded all of the brushes that go with that set. So now we're ready to get started working. I'm going to go back, use V to go back to my regular cursor because I want to put my papers in first. Now when I'm thinking about making this card, the one thing that I know is that I don't really want this scalloped to be a digital paper. I want it to do it in the cardstock that matches my card base. So for right now, I'm just going to ignore that layer, and I can do that by just shutting off this little eyeball. So I only need to work with these two. The first thing I want to do is I want to put a digital paper over the top of this center so that I can have a little bit of texture and change the color a little bit. And I've already downloaded put some papers in my stack here that I can use. This is a white that goes with the Grandma's Farmyard collection. These are all the same color, so they can be used interchangeably. So I am going to pull that paper onto there, and if you have Photoshop Elements, you'll be pulling it from the bottom bin, and then in regular Photoshop you just use the tabs. And so the paper is overlaying that whole thing. If I just want it to fill the center, I just use the Alt button and click, and it'll clip it to that paper so that it's on there and not the whole sides. I also want to do the banner in green, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to choose the green paper, bring it over, lay it on top, and then use Alt and click to fill it. So now I have my papers here, and I want to be able to write across the top, "It's your special day," and then I'm going to add some things to this tag too. But we're going to start with the circle in the back, and I'm going to go here to the paper layer. With stamps, it's much easier to manipulate them later if I put them on a new layer. If I were to use the stamp, let me get it out so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to click the brushes, I'm going to go up here, and I'm going to choose "It's Your Special Day." It's a little hard to read, but if you pull it over here, you can always see it. So that's the stamp I'm going to choose. So if I were to just go ahead and click this, it would be stuck to this paper. So I would have to move the whole paper around if I wanted to reorient it or move it over, or if I didn't get it exactly centered, which is not a huge deal because I have this big piece of paper, but in some instances it would really give you a problem if you wanted to move it over and you had to move everything instead of just the stamp. So usually the best thing to do is to create a new layer just by clicking the new layer button down here to do your stamping on. The other thing I know is that I want to use this floral paper in order to do my stamping, or do my card. That's going to be the background paper for my card. And so I want my stamp to stamp in this dark red color. so that it matches. So I'm going to go down here to the color picker and click it, and then I get this little eyedropper, and I'm going to choose a dark red part of it and click on that so the color picker moves, and then I'm going to click OK. Then I can go back to my original paper, and that color's in my color picker, so that's what color my stamp will stamp. So I'm on my new layer, and all I do is sort of position it where I want it and click once, and then I get that text in there. And so if I wanted, this thing is its own item now, so I can move it around anywhere I want to in order to center it. Sometimes with text, you can use the centering tools, but sometimes text can be kind of unevenly heavy. You might have big capital letters over here, or a bunch of smaller letters on the other side. So sometimes it's better to sort of center it visually so that it's weighted evenly across it, rather than using the centering tools to do it for you. Okay, so that gives me the It's Your Special Day piece of it. Now I want to work on the banner next, so I'm going to go above the green paper and click on the green paper and then create another new layer, because I want to stamp on a new layer, and I want to find, the next thing I want to do is change my color, because I want to do this part in green. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to click my color picker, I'm going to find a dark green in here. I want something a little brighter. Okay. Click OK. Now that color's in my color picker. I go back and I find my Celebrate in my list of stamps. It's right here. Double click that to select it. And then I'm on a new layer, so I can go ahead and stamp my text. So now I have my word Celebrate. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to put a little dotted line around it. I want to use the dotted line stamp just to decorate it a little bit. And I'm going to do it in the same color. So I'm going to do it on a new layer, because then if I don't get it positioned exactly right, it'll be on a separate layer from the word and a separate layer from the paper. And so I can move these three things around and center them and do whatever I want. If I were to stamp it on the same layer as the word Celebrate, they would be stuck together and I wouldn't be able to move them independently of each other. So next thing I need to do is go and find the double dotted line, and it might take me 2 chances here. Yeah, see, that's a double line. I don't want that one. I want the dotted one. Okay, so I'm going to double click that. Now, I really don't want it quite this big. It fits in the space, but the word Celebrate, I would like to just tighten it up just a little bit so that it's not quite so close to the edge and it's a little closer to the word Celebrate. And one of the ways you can do that is to use the left and right bracket keys on your keyboard. It's just a quick way to do it. You can also go up here and play with the size if you want to. That's another way to do it. But a quick and easy way is to use the bracket keys. And if I use the right bracket, you can see it's getting bigger, but I actually want it to get smaller. So I think that's too small. I think I want it about here. And I'm just going to sort of center it, because remember, I can move it around if I need to. And the one thing I would like to do, I'm going to go back to my black arrow up here. You can see there's a lot of space here, but not as much space there. So I'm just going to tighten this up. Since this is on its own layer, I can play with it by itself. And I'm going to just move it around till I'm happy with it. I can use my arrow keys if I want to just nudge it a little. Hit the check mark for OK. That's pretty good. I think I'm happy with that. So now I have my pieces all together. My text is in the color I want it. It's arranged the way I want it to be. If I wanted to, I could take a look at this. I could click on this banner, not the paper, and the word Celebrate. Use the control key. So I just have these two connected, and I could center them, make sure they're centered vertically. If you try to center them this way, it's going to mess up, because this has a high center point because it's curved. So, but if you want to center it vertically, you can. And the next thing I want to do is save these now so I can import them into my silhouette, use them with the cutting files, and it'll cut out exactly what I want. So the first thing I need to do is save them one at a time, because I could save them and cut this whole thing out, but really I want this white piece to be one piece and this green piece to be a different piece, so when I put the card together it has a little bit more dimension. So what I'm going to do is shut off pieces of it, save them as a PNG, and then use them independently. So let's start with the green flag first. So I'm going to shut off this background, and I'm going to shut off these words. If you want to, you can temporarily crop this, but I'm not going to bother. Then I'm going to do File, Save As. I need to navigate to where my tutorial is. And then I don't want to save it as a Photoshop. I want to save it as a PNG. And you can see here I already have one saved, so I'm not going to save it again. But it's the exact same thing. So you would save it as a PNG, hit save, and then be done. Then you need to do the exact same thing for the other piece. Shut off the tag and the words, and then go through and turn back on the words and the tag for the other piece. File, Save As, PNG, and then you can save it as a file, and then we'll import it into the silhouette. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is show you how to layer these with the cutting lines.